Okay, going back to the definition of fraud in the literature of the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners. In the manual, in the Fraud Examiners Manual 2008 edition, they said that in accordance to Black's Law Dictionary, as it defines fraud, it says, I'm going to repeat it here. It says, all multifarious means which human ingenuity can devise and which are resorted to by one individual to get an advantage over another by false suggestions or suppression of the truth. It includes all surprise, trick, cunning, or dissembling, and any unfair way by which another is cheated. And I'm quoting, by the way, from the manual. It says, fraud includes any intentional or deliberate act to deprive another of property or money by guile, deception, or other unfair means. And it says, by the way, in the manual, the principal categories of fraud or white-collar crime are misrepresentation of material facts, concealment of material facts, bribery, conflict of interest, theft of money or property, theft of trade secrets or intellectual property, breach of fiduciary duty, and statutory offenses. In fact, this is based on the ACFE 2008 fraud examiners in the law part of the manual. So this is exactly clear here. Let me emphasize another thing. When we say, for example, the occupational fraud and abuse classification system in accordance to the ACFE, the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners of the USA, they classify the occupational fraud and abuse classification system. They classify it in accordance to the following. They classify the occupational fraud and abuse. They say we have three categories. One, corruption. The second is asset misappropriation. And the third one is fraudulent statements. They call it fraudulent financial statements or financial and non-financial, by the way. As you can see here, we have corruption, misappropriation of assets, and fraudulent statements. Under corruption, they say we have conflict of interest, bribery, illegal gratuities, and economic extortion. Under asset misappropriation, they have cash or non-cash, and under fraudulent financial statements or fraudulent statements, we have financial and non-financial. What is clear here is that the problem could be found in the definition of fraud and corruption. But this problem is not the original problem. Why? Because most of the entities, most of the people, okay, they agree that fraud and corruption is bad. Fraud and corruption is detrimental to any economic development. All right? And on this basis, let us have the problems of the definition of fraud and corruption aside for a while, and let us ask the genuine and the original and necessary questions, such as, let us agree on what corruption means in this specific country, in this specific culture. Why? Because corruption differs from one country to another, and it is affected by different cultures. What is being defined as a corrupt act in one country could be defined as a normal act in another country. And there is a lot of things that has been published in this regard. But the question is, if we agree on what corruption is in this specific country, then we can find out the characteristics of this kind of fraud and corrupted act or acts, and after we diagnose it, of course, we can find out solutions for that. But you cannot say, well, corruption must have a global definition, okay, that until we reach for it, we cannot fight it. No. If I would like to be very specific and say, well, so what should we do in country A or country B or country C? What we should do is to find out where is the disease. As we have just mentioned, there are too many kinds of fraud, too many kinds of corruptions. Okay? So let us find out where is the highest risk of corruption and where are the cases that we have caught in this specific sector or that sector of that kind, of the other kind of fraud and corruption, as just we clarified. Okay? Then we can sit and discuss what we should do. Thank you. I hope that I highlighted some aspects that are a little bit ambiguous, and I will come back to discuss other issues, basically from the United Nations Conventions about fraud, or United Nations Conventions about corruption.